It's a safe bet that a fair few of you are fans of Plo Koon. Embodying the values of the Jedi Guardians, he was fiercely committed to justice and the fight against the dark side. Plo Koon has a reputation as a paragon of virtue, an example of everything the Jedi should be. By and large, his reputation checked out. But what tactics did he employ? As we've seen in this series many times already, many virtuous Jedi became much colder when on the battlefield, becoming all too comfortable with sacrificing lives. Was the same true for Plo Koon? For once, the answer is no. General Plo truly cared about his bros, and his tactics were a lot more conscientious than those of his contemporaries.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Plo Koon was a Kel'Dor and a pretty typical member of the species. He saw the universe in black and white, and he had a strong commitment to justice, which he preferred to be harsh and swift. Like many Jedi, he fought in the Clone Wars not out of simple obligation, but out of a genuine belief in the righteousness of the Loyalist cause. This is a bit of a shame, as the Loyalist cause wasn't really that righteous, but that's beside the point. During the Clone Wars, Plo Koon famously worked with Clone Commander Wolf, the commander of the 104th Battalion, and he often fought alongside an elite squad called the Wolfpack. Their mission profiles were all over the place, quite frankly, though they did seem to have been saddled with rescue missions more than any other unit. Despite this, Plo and his troopers were competent and adaptable warriors, able to give the Separatists a thrashing anywhere and at any time. As a general, Plo Koon excelled not only in ground battles but also in naval combat. He frequently commanded his troops not from the ground or the bridge of a Star Destroyer, but from the cockpit of his prized starfighter, the Blade of Dorin. If we had to pick, we'd say starfighter combat was his element, but he was a good commander in any medium, leading his forces to victory in battle after battle. From Geonosis at the start of the war to Cato Nemoidia at the end, Plo Koon had a pretty successful record as far as Jedi generals went. Unlike many, Jedi Plo Koon didn't shy away from combat. As a Jedi Guardian, he was much more eager to fight, and this reflected in his tactics. He preferred to strike fast and strike hard, obliterating Separatist targets before they even warmed up their guns. Plo Koon was one of the few Jedi with experience acting as a Jedi General at the outset of the Clone Wars, as he'd led Republic forces during the brief Stark Hyperspace War in 44 BBY. Koon brought a swift and decisive end to that war, rallying the outnumbered Republic Judicial Forces soldiers for a charge that, against all odds, succeeded. Plo Koon broke the back of the Stark Commercial Combine, and his successes heavily influenced his approach to the Clone Wars. Plo Koon was the kind of strategist who preferred to rush all of his objectives and get the battle over and done with, somewhat like Mace Windu. Like with Windu, his strategies probably wouldn't have worked for anyone beside a Jedi Master. But fortunately for the 104th Battalion, the force was with General Plo, and he knew it. He led his troops from the front whenever he could, just as he did during the Stark Hyperspace War, ordering them into tight formations so he could use his lightsaber to shield a whole squad from incoming fire. Generally speaking, Plo Koon determined his role in a battle first and then built his plans around it. This might seem like a small thing, but it really shows in some of his tactics. Unlike conventional commanders, his focus was on what he could do to help, with the role of everyone under his command being to support or reinforce him. He always saved the toughest jobs for himself. As a result, his tactics always bore the telltale marks of a typical Jedi battle strategy, built around charges that could quickly bring him into weapons range, employing overwhelming force and restraint in equal measure. This was evident in both the first and second battles of Felucia. In the first battle, Plo Koon personally commanded the Republic starfighter squadrons. He put in the majority of the work in the aerial stage of the battle, clearing out the worst of the Vulture droid swarm and then going to rescue his wingmen when the stragglers gave them trouble. During the second battle, in which the Republic initially held the advantage, he and General Skywalker planned an offensive against a major Separatist fortress. Their plan was essentially to attack it from all sides at once, with the Jedi leading the way on each front. The army itself served in a support role that battle, luring the Separatist defenders out of their base and mopping up whatever the generals failed to destroy. Clearly, delegating work wasn't Plo's thing. This leads into the defining feature of Plo Koon's battle strategies, his hesitancy to risk his subordinates' lives. While Mace Windu and Anakin Skywalker tended to charge in guns blazing without much concern for the troopers behind them, Plo's tactics were always crafted with concern for his men. This frequently manifested in Plo coming up with crazy solo missions, or missions with one or two other Jedi, while the army dealt with some easier objective. Unlike most commanders, when Plo saw an obstacle that could incur high troop casualties, his solution was always to deal with it himself. Take the Battle of Gwori, for example. It was an assault on one of the Separatists' most important shipyards, a stronghold world where Republic operatives were pinned down after a failed mission to destroy the base. An outright bloody assault on Gwori would have been extremely bloody, so Plo Koon and Saesee Tiin instead executed a two-man attack run. In typical Jedi fashion, they performed a hyperspace jump down into Gwori's atmosphere and carried out a string of attacks at close range, obliterating the shipyards and rescuing the Republic operatives. Plo Koon and Kit Fisto executed a similar strategy in the Battle of Korm. On Korm, Republic forces discovered that the local Separatist garrison was using a weather control station to make conditions as hostile as possible for the invaders. While Major Ozzel wanted to charge the Separatist primary fortress anyway, Plo deemed that the casualties of such a strategy would be unacceptable, so he set out with a small team to destroy the weather station instead. This is something most real-world tacticians only wish they could do. When Plo didn't like the starting conditions of a battle, he went and changed them. Returning to the first Battle of Felucia, Plo also used this approach to combat there. During the aerial battle near the end of the first Felucia campaign, Plo led a charge against the remnants of the Separatist starfighter forces with the objective of escorting evac gunships to the surface. But a vulture droid on his tail, Plo immediately broke off to help him out before returning to the main objective. Unlike most commanders, he prioritized the lives of his men over the success of his mission. Now, it should be said that these sorts of tactics were hit and miss in the Clone Wars. A lot of clones hated the whole charge in and let the Jedi do all the work routine because it was also employed by incompetent Jedi generals who often got their men killed in the process. A lot of the time, all these really did was make things easier for the Jedi. But Plo Koon had a knack for actually making them work, so he gets our respect for that. There's no hot takes in this one. We've confirmed all your biases about Plo Koon already, and we're not going to spin that around now. But what do you think? Are there other Jedi you'd like us to make this sort of video about? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.